New Orleans Saints get the guy everyone wants. I can't wait to see who this is because I have no idea what he's talking about. Now, I thought originally, I was like, oh, the guy everyone wants must be Talise Fuaga. This was released yesterday. All right, so it's a little late for Talise Fuaga talk, a little late for Spencer Rattler talk. Also, sidebar, Bobby Boucher jersey in the shadow box. Brother, it's embarrassing. All right, it's time to get rid of it. Okay, it's time to retire the Bobby Boucher jerseys. Can we just all agree? Like, can we all agree to not wear the Will Ferrell semi-pro jerseys? Can we all just agree? All right. All right. New Orleans Saints get the guy everyone wants. Let's hear who it is.
The New Orleans Saints get the guy that everyone wants.
Yeah,
if you're new to the channel, we're Detroit Lions fans, but we have this channel covering teams and stories that just get overlooked by the national media. I think the New Orleans Saints are a team that just kind of sitting there. They're in the NFC South, a division famous for producing winners in that division that kind of come out of nowhere. Saints feel primed for that. And one of the big
so far, I agree with this young man.
Big reasons is because of this offseason. They get a guy that's perfect for what they need, and that's Klint Kubiak as the...
Yes. This guy surprised me. I did not think he would talk about Klint Kubiak. If Klint Kubiak is the guy everyone wants, I'm going to be really fired up for this video because finally, someone's talking about the right things. We hear way too many people talking about stuff that doesn't matter, and now this guy, this young man right here, Chris, is starting to talk the way I like to hear. So I'll let him keep going.
The offensive coordinator. The Saints offense needed a change.
Yes.
And we'll get to the playmakers. We'll get to what is going on the offensive side of the ball. And to bring in a solid coordinator like Kubiak to get the most out of Derek Carr for the 2024 season. And
yes.
Here's what's interesting, and I think they say it perfectly in this paragraph. Carr was his same self in 23 that he's kind of always been. A lot of good, but unfortunately plenty of bad with letdowns and mistakes and key moments and just not winning games that good quarterbacks can go out and find a way to win.
Okay, whatever. But what I like more about the Klint Kubiak hire is that it gets the Saints up to speed with the rest of the NFL. It gets the Saints up to, like, y'all ever play a video game where you just don't know the meta? You just don't have a clue what the meta is. Like, you're playing FIFA, or you're playing Madden, or you're playing Call of Duty, and you have the wrong loadouts, you got the wrong players, you got the wrong formation, and you're just getting embarrassed by some 11-year-old who got some FIFA points or Madden points or Call of Duty for Christmas, and is ruining your life. And then finally you Google or you YouTube a meta video, and you fix your formation, you fix your players, you fix your roster, and all of a sudden you're winning. You're caught up to speed. You can't just do the same old thing all the time. The Saints were doing the same old thing all the time. Not to mention that same old thing was created in 2005 by Sean Payton. Ladies and gentlemen, I said this, and everyone's been copying it. The Saints have been doing the same thing since the day Sean Payton walked in the door. The same thing. The NFL has changed dramatically since 2005. Think about all the pre-snap motion. Think about all the creativity. Think about what Mike McDaniel is doing in Miami compared to what teams were doing in 2006. Sean Alexander was on the cover of Madden in 2006. Okay? Double check me on that, but I'm almost guaranteed. I almost would guarantee you that's correct. Seahawks, Sean Alexander, boom. That era was the era of Priest Holmes, Larry Johnson, Sean Alexander. It wasn't the era of spreading teams out and motion and creative play calling. That would come much later. 15 years later, the Saints are still doing the same thing. All right? So the point is, as much as you can pinpoint Carr, as much as you can pinpoint the offense or pinpoint, passing yards per game or whatever, the fact that we're just getting somebody who's thinking new, who's innovative, who's thinking, who's evolving, who's up to date on game theory. That's what I'm excited about.
That's really what the essence of the league is when you break it down. To be really good on that high tier team, you need a quarterback that can go get a win late in the game and not just like, shoot, turnover.
I like this guy, but I hate whenever analysis gets down to like, you need a guy who can get you a win. What the hell does that mean? What does that mean? I'm pretty sure Derek Carr leads the NFL in comeback wins. Pretty sure. But what does that mean? Like, they need someone who can go get a win. How do I quantify that? Like, you always hear like, oh yeah, this team's good because that the quarterback he's got that dog in him. Well, what are we talking about? So I hope the analysis doesn't just end there.
Ball start. Weird things. No, go win the game. So Kubiak was the 49ers passing game coordinator last season and helped orchestrate one of the most efficient offenses in the league. Efficiency feels like what the Saints need most.
True. Big true.
So
and big
PFF
real.
is all over this. They're looking at the biggest hires, the biggest moves, each team, the best thing that they did all off season. And I agree with this for a couple of reasons. Number one, efficiency is the name of the game right now.
Intangibles? Yeah, I don't like I don't like when we talk about intangibles. Because it's like someone's clutch until they're not. You know what I mean? Like if you shoot, like if LeBron James shoots a three and wins the game, he's clutch. If 2 weeks later he shoots a three and misses it and loses the game, he's not clutch, or is he still clutch? But like, intangibles are way too prisoner of the moment. They're way too like, what have you done for me lately? If you have a kicker who's never missed a game-winning field goal in his life, he is absolutely clutch until he misses the field goal to win the Super Bowl. Then it's hard to call him clutch, right? He could make 50 in a row. He could win 50 games in a row. Then he misses that Super Bowl kick. I got a feeling all of a sudden the fans are not going to think he's as clutch as he was.
Now, and that's what everyone's looking for. It's about efficiency in terms of what are you going to do offensively? Are you going to play ball control, kind of run the ball? You've got the running back to do that. Are you going to get a little bit more explosive? It kind of depends on the game plan. Are we going to take some chunk plays? You've got the players to do that. Olave. What are you going to do? But you have to be efficient. That means first downs, chunk plays when they're there. You can't go backwards or get stuck. And that's what happens.
Yeah, Kubiak's talked about that. Kubiak's talked about, we have to stay ahead of the chains. We've got to get positive yards. We can't have 2nd and 10. We can't have 3rd and 10. A good way to do that is what Pete Carmichael liked to do. Have Jamal Williams on the field, run the ball 3 straight times. 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10 punt. That's a Pete Carmichael special. That is the number 4 combo meal if Pete Carmichael had a fast food restaurant.
Happened to the Saints too often last year. Just be a quarter of didn't get a first down. That whole quarter. It's like
terrible. They were ass.
That's hard on the defense. You go a whole half without getting a first down or one first down.
Brother. We went the first half. We looked at this last stream. We went the first half without scoring a touchdown for like 6 weeks in a row.
Or turnovers or go backwards. And it's just that stuff's really hard on the offense, obviously. It's hard on the defense as well when they're kind of getting out there and they got to stop the bleeding. And it's like it's 14-0. And, we saw that with the Lions last year, that Lions game. It's just the Lions hang on to win that game against the Saints because they get out to such a big lead and it's just so hard to come back. So those are the things that offensively the Saints have to keep up, because you look at it, and this is what's pretty cool about this is the PFF comes out with a player profile on Chris Olave. And what's interesting, Olave is the real deal. Only a few wide receivers of the past decade have played better in their first 2 seasons than Olave.
PFF's got it figured out. And this is what I like to hear, because how many times have we gone over this where people talk about Drake London? Drake London ain't done nothing. Chris Olave in the first couple of years has been a very, very, very good teetering on elite wide receiver. let's say you're low on Olave. If you're low on Olave, he's still a top 20 guy. You know, if you're high on Olave like I am, he's a top 15 guy. So now the depth of the wide receiver room, you know, the difference from Olave and Rashid Shaheed, like, you know, the difference there is wide. But if Olave can take a step forward and go from top 15 to top 10, whoo.
He's got a lot working in his favor except quarterback. And this is, again, coming from a fantasy perspective, which I like to do sometimes because it is interesting to see what the fantasy nerds see, because they're not usually wrong. They're not wrong. It's just looking at it differently. So he's got a lot working in his favor from a fantasy perspective, that he has less competition for touches and a coach that won't restrict his routes in the new offensive coordinator.
True. Yep, true.
But he still has Derek Carr at quarterback. Derek Carr, it's like it's time to go, or it's time to go. Meaning, let's go, or you might find your way out of the league. I mean, really, that's kind of where it's at. And because the Saints will have to make a decision, like, we're gonna have to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, if Carr's bad this year, we'll more than likely we'll move on. We'll start to figure out what that next chapter looks like,
because it's just not working. And so that's just kind of how it feels. So he has excelled. 87 PFF grade over the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Like, again, Chris Olave, 87.2 PFF receiving grade over his first 2 seasons, ranks 8th over the past 10 years.
It's great in nearly
over the last decade. 8th.
Every situation.
Like, think about that. Olave has been the 8th best receiver per PFF's ranking over the last 10 years, and I've got people telling me he's not even a top 20 wide receiver in the league right now. Crazy. I love that when you break down. I love when you take good analytics from an analytical group that's doing stuff, and then you take the narrative. And it's crazy how different the narrative can be. I mean, we've got people who are honestly saying, I've heard them, I've seen the comments that are saying that Chris Olave has been disappointing. And then you look at this professional group whose job is to grade players, telling me that he has had the 8th best start to a career in the last 10 years. That's a pretty wide gap from the narrative to the analytics. That's wild. That's why I love digging into the analytics, because it really does show you what's going on. It takes all the bias out. It takes all the emotion out of it.
That's what's really cool. He plays in almost every game. He goes out he plays 30 routes per game. He's getting targeted a quarter of the time. Everything you look at, every stat from, again, we're looking at a fantasy, but we're also looking at, and the reason I bring him up is because this is a playmaker on your team. You've got the running back and Alvin Kamara. Get efficient on offense, and you've got it. That's why the hiring was so big, and this is what everyone's trying to do. Get your receiver open, chunk plays, boom. Run the ball, hold on to the ball, constantly be moving forward. Efficiency, and you've got the quarterback to do it. And you look at Chris Olave's production by situation. Again, this is on a rocky offense.
This guy's kind of cooking right now.
Last year, rocky, man coverage, single coverage. Oh, I mean, this is like everything. Is he double covered? Everything is really good, and it doesn't matter what the situation is. And it's crazy to see that. So again, there's going to be some good and bad, because there's not really great receivers alongside him, but he's got Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill. I mean,
the Rashid Shaheed, Bub Means, Cedric Wilson, Stanley Morgan, Equinemius St. Brown, that group is weak, no doubt about it, especially considering one of those guys I just named has to be the number 2. That is weak. He was right about that.
They're there, but they're also a year beyond their prime, so I think that's right as well. So again, and by the way, let me know in the comments when I think of New Orleans Saints, man. Of course, Drew Brees, obviously, but like, who are the players? Who's your favorite player? New Orleans Saints.
Damn it! I hate. This guy's been cooking. I gotta give him credit. But I cannot stand, I've talked about this before, I cannot stand whenever videos comment farm and they ask some random question to get comments in the comment section instead of just making the content engaging. The boy, the face of the franchise, the Superstars videos, 100, 150, 200 comments every video. How many times have I ever sat back and said, all right, let me pause the video, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone go comment with your favorite type of pasta. I've never done that. I think it's a clickbaity type thing. Nothing against this guy. Get it how you live. But I always cringe when I hear people do that.
Saints, not obvious one. So give me an one of your all-time favorite New Orleans Saints player, but it can't be an obvious one. Let me just look up here.
Okay, is this what he's going to do at the end?
Player, let me know in the comments. Again, if you're new to the channel, figure things out.
All right, there you go. Good video. Besides the end, good video. But yeah, I mean, I'm right there with him. Like, it is huge that we're getting Klint Kubiak. That is the difference. Like, that is the big differentiator where if you just look at the Saints and you don't know what's going on with Pete Carmichael and you don't know what's going on with Klint Kubiak, you don't really understand on a super intricate level, and you miss that, I can see where you look at the Saints and you're like, this team sucks. But there's a big change happening.